All right, first up today, our continuing series, Today's Senior with Synergy HomeCare. If there's someone in your life who is an aging veteran, listen up, because they are entitled to many free benefits, such as help with errands and shopping, housekeeping and laundry, and even respite care, so that their caregiver can take a break.
I love to hear that. Ruth Busalacchi is the president of Synergy HomeCare. She's here with more on ways veterans can continue to live independently. Good to see you, Ruth.
Good to see you. Hello.
Absolutely. Is all that true that those who are veterans get those sorts of care items for free?
Yes, it's one of my favorite topics because the VA has not forgotten those veterans as they age. Many of those veterans served a couple of years when they were in their 20s, moved on, had families, got civilian jobs, and weren't even aware that as they're aging and they need a little support in their home, they can go back to the VA and receive free benefits and even an additional pension to help for them to be able to stay in their own homes.
See, I think this is huge, Ruth. And I know that this VA program is designed to either pay for full or a portion of the veterans' home care. And so in just a little bit, I want to make sure that you get to the point of how they can find out what they're eligible for. But first, we mentioned that there's help for all sorts of things. We mentioned errands and shopping, housekeeping, laundry, bathing, personal care, even respite for the caregiver.
Correct. One of the reasons I love this topic is my own parents took advantage of this. My father was a proud Navy veteran, and as he aged and developed Parkinson's disease, my parents reached out to the VA. They received personal care assistance and respite for my mother so that she could get a break. And we brought in Synergy HomeCare caregivers, and it was a wonderful opportunity for them to give back. And also for my parents to be able to stay in the home together.
Oh, I love that.
Yes.
Another thing you mentioned that I'd love for you to talk about a little bit more is the pensions. You mentioned that there's an opportunity potentially to have an extra pension. What is that all about?
It's wonderful. So the pension is called Aid and Attendance, and it's designed if a veteran later in life needs aid and attendance, older words, but like care and supervision, then if they qualify, so there are certain eligibility requirements, but if they do qualify, that pension is somewhere around $2,000 a month to help pay for care. It's amazing. And what's so wonderful about that pension is it also applies to a surviving spouse of a veteran. So many of our surviving spouse, they're not even aware of it. Synergy HomeCare and Greenfield Community, for the last 7 years, we've put on a ice cream social for veterans and their spouses so that we could share this information. We do as much as we can to get them information out.
That's so cute. I know you have some stories about how the benefits have helped different people.
Yes. We served a gentleman by the name of Ed, and he was actually on the show a couple of years ago helping me share this information. Ed and his wife never had children, and she died a couple of years earlier when we met Ed. He wanted to live in his own home, but he was legally blind and he had some mobility issues. So one of the things that he described as so powerful for him was trying to make it up the stairs from the basement with his laundry basket. It was a very challenging and actually a very dangerous thing for him to do, and he recognized that. So he reached out to the VA. We were contacted, Synergy HomeCare, to come in and provide laundry service. We made him a couple of good home-cooked meals a week, some companionship, ran errands with him. It was a small amount of support, but it was all he needed to be able to stay in his own home. It was absolutely wonderful, and he was a fine, yes.
That's incredible. I love to hear that, because I think one of the things you hit on that people are probably going to hear, I think about it for my mom who's in her young 70s, those steps, they can just be so challenging. And I know you go out and you do, I think you've got another story about pension. If you do, I want you to be able to tell that. But I know you also go and do assessments of homes. So I want you to be able to talk to that too.
Sure. So in my prior life, I used to open and license assisted living homes, group homes. And so when we go out, I'm happy to go out and do an assessment and reevaluate the safety of the home. Make sure that they're setting up their home, maybe looking at it a little differently to maximize and prevent any falls or any potential hazards so that they don't land in the hospital. And it can be simple movement of placement of items, clearing out clutter, picking up the rugs off the floor, which we're also fond of. And sometimes it's a little bit of help having somebody else go into the basement versus you going into the basement.
I'm sure for a lot of people, the assessments that you do, the changes that are made, and then getting some of that help in home allows people to stay at home much longer than they would otherwise. Is that fair to say?
Absolutely. One of our favorite things to do is to go into someone's home and first see what else we can do for them before we even look at home care benefits. What can we do to adapt the home? What electronic equipment like an emergency pendant could we add to supplement having someone face-to-face 24 hours a day? And then are there benefits? Are there grants? That's when we then look at the cost of care. More often than not, it's cheaper to stay home than it is to move. And if that is your desire to stay home, well, then it's sort of a win-win, especially when you have other funding options.
Oh, we love chatting with you. Thanks for joining us today, Ruth.
You're so welcome. If anyone is interested, we can still do virtual tours and virtual assessments. And if they want us to do a face-to-face, we are able to do that. We would just provide the same amount of supports that our caregivers do. We call in advance, make sure that they do not have any symptoms before we visit with them. We make sure we do not have any symptoms of COVID. And then we would wear a mask and, of course, wash our hands and be very careful.
Thank you so much. I love that. So here's the information so that you can contact Synergy if you want a home assessment or if you want to talk about any of those resource assessments for potential benefits for veterans or if you're a spouse of a veteran. It's 414-763-8368 or synergyhomecare.com for more.